Then we're going to get some more on this by Colonel Miri Eisin, the director for the International Institute of Counter-Terrorism at Reichman University and former head of combat intelligence with the IDF. Miri, we are hearing now that Hezbollah is moving their military assets around the north in preparation for a major offensive against Israel. What are the circumstances under which Israel might preempt that?
Israel has been following Hezbollah from day one. We've said this here, Ariel. I'll remind our viewers. Hezbollah is one who has been training and practicing to do the type of attack that took place on October 7th in the south of Israel. They've been training, showing over different videos of themselves doing so to do the north. So in the fact that they are now moving their assets around, that means rockets and mortars, that means different type of launchers, suicide drones, the little pokes that we've been seeing over the last few days, the tension has been rising. Hezbollah is the big brother. They have 10 times the capabilities of what Hamas has. So most definitely in that sense, it's not just a blinking game. Right now, Israel is on the verge of, do you wait for them to attack first, or do you preempt? It is a question. I don't think we're being held back. I think that we really are looking at this in an overall way.
I want to talk about the other front now in Gaza. We've been seeing international pressure against Israel mounting, and the Islamic Jihad rocket strike on that hospital in Gaza being used as a major propaganda piece in the war so far. Does the knowledge that this was in fact a rocket from the Islamic Jihad change the equation as far as the European powers are concerned?
I've never been worried about the governments of different countries. They have their own understanding. They have their own intelligence. They put together and they're on the higher moral ground. What I'm worried about right now, Ariel, is the social media and that viral way that within minutes, what they called the Gazan hospital officials, and I was like, you do know that that's the Hamas officials, the Hamas health officials in the Gaza Strip, is in such a heinous way sending that out, blaming Israel and the international media, and within that, the social media, just the knee-jerk reaction that, of course, Israel did it. We're on that higher moral ground. I absolutely see the governments in support, but because of that viral social media push, certainly within the Arabic-speaking world, where it's coached in such horrific ways anyways, but also in that Western, very progressive world, that they're like, we have to prove that we didn't do it when we would never attack a hospital. So these are most definitely battlegrounds that are going to impact public opinion in a horrific way. As we know, Jews and Israelis worldwide right now are under attack, and not just here in Israel. And we need to stand up straight and make this clear. We can't let this terror psycho, the type of psyops type of war, be the ones who define the narrative.
And Mary, on that topic of psyops and the moral high ground, right now Israel has declared a new humanitarian gathering location in Gaza, al-Mawasi. What is stopping Hamas from using it as a staging ground for their military assets now that Israel has promised not to hit it? And if they do use it, what can Israel's response be?
My response in that sense is going to be double take. I think right now that all of the terrorists in the Gaza Strip from the beginning, and we've been saying this for years, do put their headquarters and their weapons in the hospitals because they know that Israel will never attack them. And that's why it's so horrible what's going on. And yes, I agree with you that they will put assets there. In this case, you know what? We're trying to help the 2 million civilians. Hamas have been using them as human shields for many, many years. This isn't something new. We will continue, like we have done today, to consistently tell them, move, get out of the northern Gaza Strip, get into that area with the possibility of humanitarian relief. Don't let Hamas both steal what the United Nations Relief and Welfare Agency capacities have of fuel and water. Let the world help those people. Hamas is a terror organization on so many different levels. We need to make sure that they're not the ones who bring out the poor Gazan people as their human shields.
Mary, we're going to be coming back to you over the course of the show for more analysis. But before that, we are going to look at the American angle with our correspondent, Mary McAuliffe, who is going to be talking about Biden's visit set to arrive in just a little under 2 hours now. We had the American administration say that they're going to be asking some hard questions as a friend to Israel. What does this mean?
Absolutely, Aria. Well, we know the U.S. has come out very forcefully to condemn the attacks that happened on October 7th and repeatedly saying that they do stand behind Israel and they will support Israel as it does try and launch this new operation against Hamas. But that does not mean it's a carte blanche justification for Israel to go ahead and do whatever it wants in Gaza Strip. This is what administration officials are saying, that they're going to be here and they're going to be putting pressure on Israel to try and make sure they can arrange some humanitarian aid to be able to enter into the Gaza Strip. This is one thing on Biden's agenda today. This is what he will be discussing with Israeli leaders, but he will also be coming to meet with the families of those hostages who were taken by Hamas on October 7th. So he's here to show support, but he's also here to try and put some pressure on the situation and try and see if the U.S. can continue working to facilitate some kind of deal as this massive operation looms in Gaza. And we still have those over 1 million refugees pushed into the southern part of the Strip. This is the main task for the American president now, before this operation really gets underway, is to try and see what they can do to try and safeguard the civilian population. They're saying the civilian populations in both Israel and Gaza is of the utmost importance, and that in a conflict like this, the ideal civilian casualty toll should be 0.
And Biden was supposed to, as part of this trip, attend a summit in Jordan with leaders of the Arab world, a summit that has been canceled now. Are we seeing the limits of U.S. influence on the Arab nations?
I wouldn't go that far, Ariel. I think the events of last night, that massive bombing in Gaza Strip, we're already seeing Arab protests breaking out. Just happened last night, and within hours of it happening, we already saw Arabs taking to the streets in Jordan and Egypt and other countries to condemn what happened last night. Israel is saying it's not responsible for that airstrike, instead blaming it on what is likely to be a failed rocket launch from Gaza Strip that just fell inside the Strip and unfortunately killed those hundreds of people. But we are still